Hi, good evening everybody. Thank you for coming to the class. My name is Jay and I shall be instructing you about self-defense. So, first things first. What is self-defense? It's fairly self-explanatory. If an attacker was to come at you, self-defense is what you use to get yourself out of the situation or to nullify the attacker. Now, in the eyes of the law, you cannot carry weapons for self-defense. So if you have brass knuckles or a bat or anything like that, that is not considered self-defense. However, if you were to be attacked and there was a stick on the street and you were to pick up that stick to defend yourself, that's all fine. And as far as the law goes, self-defense is appropriate response. So what is appropriate response? Essentially that's on a case-by-case basis. So an appropriate response for one situation could be if someone's in your way, they're not letting you leave a room or whatever, you pushing them out of your way, that would be the limit of what you'd be able to do before it becomes assault. In another situation, you might have to injure the person to get away. Again, this all is kind of like case-by-case basis. So you very rarely will get punished if you actually do defend yourself. So a lot of times people kind of hesitate when it comes to taking action for self-defense. The reason being, and one of the big reasons is, they don't want to hurt the person, they think what they're going to do is a bit too extreme, or they think that they're going to get into trouble. So one thing I would always recommend is, always, as the old saying goes, ask for forgiveness, not for permission. If you think that you are in danger, and you think that this is the appropriate course of action to get yourself out of the danger, then do it. Worst case scenario, you might get a slap in the wrist, because generally, nice people don't randomly assault. Because, being honest, usually what would happen is, if you have no any kind of like convictions or anything on your record, chances are the person who's attacking you might have a couple themselves, and they look at it and go, right, this guy's saying this, and this, we're kind of going to side with him. So, a lot of the things that people say for self-defense are, eyes, groin, throat. This is all good. Personally, what I think the best form of self-defense is cardio. Always look first to get yourself out of the situation. Either talk your way out of the situation or run away. These are very key points, because self-defense is making sure you don't get hurt, first and foremost. And if the only way to ensure that is to run away, so be it. Having said that, there are plenty of situations where you cannot run away. So one thing I always recommend is you never stand like I'm standing now. Never have your hands behind your back, never lean forward, try to listen to what they say. If you think someone is being aggressive with you, or if you think someone's being violent with you, what I suggest you do, we all know how to stand in our stance, one foot in front of the other back, and have your hands here. Does anyone tell me, what's the difference between me standing like this and me standing like this? Anyone tell me what the difference is? What's this one say to you? Passive. Yeah. And what's this one say to you?
I'm ready to fight.
What's the real difference between this and this?
Open closed hands.
That's it?
That's it.
I'm ready. I'm letting the person know that I don't want to fight. Which, by the way, if you want to talk about law, what is assault? CCTV is everywhere. If they see you standing like this, they're going to say he's probably defending himself. They see you standing like this, they go, well, he wants to fight, he wants to hit him. So first suggestion is you should always stand like this. Because the law states that you are allowed to defend yourself if anybody is to attack you, your loved ones, or any property you have. And the best thing to do, especially with a loved one for yourself, standing in front of them, hand out here, passive but ready. Any questions?
No, not right now.
Anything so far? Good. So, what forms of self-defense are there? Well, you can list off the martial arts. Every one of them has a good point and a bad point. Striking, fantastic self-defense. The strong points are, it's shock and awe. If someone starts a fight with you and you crack them with 1, 2, 3 combination, they're going to be stunned and they're going to back off, and there's plenty of time for you to escape or defuse the situation. Then points are, someone like yourself could punch me all day long. I won't do an awful lot. Grappling, one of the great sides is you get close to them, you can control them, you can pin them down, push away. What's the downside of it? A lot of people who grapple, they don't know how to throw a punch or defend a punch. You know, a lot of the times the grappling stance is here, and your chin's out. This place is a fantastic place for proper self-defense. It's not one style, it's not one way of doing things, it's everything. Proper self-defense is not one martial art. It's little bits from all the martial arts. I need to know how to not only throw a strike to defend myself, but to block. I also need to know if someone grabs me, how to get away from them, and also how to grab someone so they can't hurt me. So there's many, many different styles. And one of the problems is with martial arts, I think a lot of you probably see the Olympics is a big culprit to this, is they water down the art. So martial arts is amazing. It's a really intricate form, and when you get into the, especially at the black belt levels of various different ones, it's like watching chess. The average person on the street who's going to assault is going to be playing checkers. They're not going to be playing chess. You know, if you're striking, you throw a little feint because you want the person to move that way. They only move that way because they know how to fight. Most people don't know how to fight. In fact, only 1% of Ireland's population have any way training that can be labelled as competent martial artist. 1%. You might think that's a very low number, but think how many people live in Dún Laoghaire, and think how many people have signed up to this. Probably about 1%, if even. You know? So a lot of the times, a lot of people who study martial arts for years, they think to themselves, I'm safe in a street altercation. But what they get caught with is that the person isn't reacting the way they want them to react. I'm moving this way because I know the person knows that a left hook's coming, so they're going to move this way because I'm really throwing my right. They're not really going to react that way. So self-defense has to be simple. It has to be simple, it has to be effective, and it has to be quick. Street fights don't last 15 minutes and 3-minute round sessions. They barely last 60 seconds, if even that. So we have to train it over and over and over. Like, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic getting into a black belt level and things like that, but you should always, always have one eye on the self-defense aspect. So everything has to be simple, it has to be effective, and we have to have it like, I suppose muscle memory would be the best term to do. Because if we're out of here for a couple of weeks, we're on holidays, we come back in, we do sparring, we have a round to kind of get back into the swing of things, to knock some dust off. We don't have that luxury if someone was to attack us. It has to be automatic. So not only do you have to just train it once and you're done, that's not the case whatsoever. You have to keep training it, and you have to keep the simplicity in mind. That's great. Like for me, as a jiu-jitsu player, it's fantastic knowing how to grab someone and do a roll and omoplata. That's gonna get my ass kicked on the streets. I could get seriously hurt without anything that they're doing. So everything has to be very, very simple and very easy. So, anybody got any questions from that?
Not from that section. I do have a question from earlier.
Yep.
You mentioned about not being able to carry weapons
Yes.
on your person for self-defense, but
Yep.
if you find anything on the street,
Yes.
is there any, like, I mean, I'm not looking for things.
An example.
Well, are there any limitations to that? Like, I mean,
The limitation is actually the harm you can do to the person.
oh,
So, if you were to find, because the case I looked up, the kind of, as everyone knows, that usually there's like a case that kind of sets the law in motion for this and this, was a person was attacked, they were knocked into a wall, the wall had a loose brick, they grabbed the brick and smashed the guy in the face.
okay.
That was deemed self-defense, because the guy said, I did not think that I was going to get out of there alive. He feared for his life, he grabbed something that was handy for him, because he didn't have it on his person, it wasn't considered preemptive. Even if you had a pocket knife for whatever reason, for a work reason, you had a Swiss Army knife, you have no intention of using the blade, you want to use the scissors, you want to use the screw, you want to use the corkscrew. If you had that in your pocket and you got attacked and you pulled it out, there is no way you could convince a jury that you weren't preemptively carrying that for that exact reason.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, a competent lawyer will kind of argue that he put that in his pocket knowing full well there was a knife in there, and that day he pulled it out of his pocket and stuck it into someone. Yeah. So that's what they mean by, so they don't want you to, as I said with the example with the brick, they don't want you to hit someone, they go down and then you keep hitting them with the brick.
Right, yeah.
That's, as I said, that's considered excessive. We talked about earlier the outcomes we want. It has to be a certain limit, it's all different. So you hit them once, they go down, you get away, they consider that self-defense. You keep hitting them with the brick, that's
Yes.
different. You have a question?
Yeah, what would be some, like, to keep it really simple, what would be some good combinations?
That is going to be answered by the end.
Okay.
There's no limit to good combinations. As far as striking goes, 1-2 straight to the nose and get out of there. Even if you don't drop the guy, if everybody here has been hit square in the nose at some stage, your eyes water up and it's not a nice experience. And that, especially for someone who doesn't actually do any martial arts, you all know yourself, you kind of have to get used to taking those punches. Like, the jarring experience the first time you really get cracked. So for striking, that's what I'd recommend. 1-2 straight to the nose, get out of there. Again, there's a whole thing of like maybe you hit somebody in the groin or in the throat. The reality of it is somebody could be on drugs and they don't feel pain. They don't feel pain, so what we want to do is do something that will affect them no matter what they do. No matter what drugs they're on, no matter what their pain tolerance is. A good strike to the nose will cause watering to your eyes, blur your vision, and you can get out of there. So, to your point, to show you a nice effective move, Darryl, do you want to move? So, a common thing that happens on the street, is somebody will grab you in a headlock. So, Darryl grabs me in a headlock here. So, a couple of things I want to do, right? I don't want to look this way, because if I look this way and he squeezes, I'm choked, and that is a very unpleasant choke. So for 2 reasons, I look inside. I look inside because if I do this, squeeze as hard as I can, I'm safe. It's not pleasant, but I'm safe. And another thing is, if he is going to hit me, he's not hitting anywhere here. It's not great getting punched on the top of your head. It's not great getting punched here, but it's a hell of a lot better than your nose, your jaw, your eyes. So, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my head in. When I turn my head in, you notice that a gap is created here. I'm going to hold my hand in that gap and I'm going to connect his left arm to my left shoulder. Now, he's going to swing a punch at me. See this hand here? So swing a punch. It's going to come out here and it's going to block. The second I feel it block, I'm going to connect it to myself and I'm going to bring my elbow as close to my body as possible. So from here, try and move, Darryl. I'm out. So from here, anything he does, I bump him forward with my shoulder and I pop my head free. So one more time real quick before I get you off to do this move. Darryl gets me in a headlock. Straight away, I look inside and I put my hand here. Now he can't choke me. So what's he going to do? He's going to try to punch me. He's going to block here. Where I want to hit is his bicep. Nice towards the shoulder. Because blocking here, he's a lot of momentum. He's not blocking momentum here. Block his bicep, grab his forearm into me like that. The second he moves, bump forward, and I hold his hand here. See, I hold his hand at the front, and I hold his hand at the back. If he decides to get smart with me, I lift that hand up. It's not very pleasant at all, is it?
No.
He'll be very compliant to what I want to do. From here, what I suggest you do, and either escape or you're in a good position to re-engage. So any questions from that?
When you say bump forward, are you just pushing him into
Yes.
the back with your shoulder?
So
And
when I
that pops
feel
your head.
when I feel his movement,
Yeah.
I pump him with the shoulder, and that forces him to take a step. With that
Okay.
movement's enough for me to put my head out.
Right, okay.
Would it be too far to take him down after you've got their back, or?
You can if you want, but again, in a street scenario, you don't know if there's rocks, broken glass or anything on the ground. You always have that option, but I always want to make it the last option. If I can control the person on my feet without having to hit the ground, that's what I want to do.
So just say, going back to a few points, just say somebody's like coming at you aggressively and they have their hands up, but they haven't hit you yet. Are you allowed to kind of hit
That's a
them
great
first?
question. Yes, self-defense does not mean you wait for them to strike. If you do not think you can exit that scenario without violence, then you are well within your rights to put it down as quick as possible. So you can strike first in a self-defense scenario. The argument being that I thought he was going to hit me, I wasn't going to wait around for him to hit me, which by the way, for practical and law reasons is very smart. Don't want to wait around for him to hit me, so I strike myself. Alright, so listen folks, thank you very much. You've been a great class, and we'll practice that move now. And if you have any questions while doing the move, please come to me. So thank you very much. Is that the